The night was quiet, cold, and heavy with mist. A single man walked along the empty coast road, his flashlight cutting through the darkness like a thin blade of light. His name was Eli, a young human engineer who fixed machines for a living and searched for old tech near the ocean ruins. He often came here to clear his mind, to forget the noise of the city. But tonight the air felt different, almost alive. As Eli climbed a small hill of sand and broken metal, he saw something strange. A blue light shimmered in the distance, half buried in the dunes, flickering like a heartbeat. At first, he thought it was another crashed drone or satellite, but when he got closer, he froze. It wasn't metal he recognized. It was curved, smooth and glowing from inside like liquid crystal. A small pod, alien in design, torn open as if it had fallen from the sky. Eli's heart raced. The stories about alien crafts were forbidden to speak aloud. The military controlled all contact with non-human life, and anyone who interfered simply disappeared. But curiosity burned brighter than fear inside him. He stepped closer, covering his face from the heat still rising from the wreck. Inside the pod, he saw movement. Something or someone was alive inside. It was a girl, or at least she looked like one. Her skin shimmered faint blue, her hair flowed like silver light, and her eyes were closed as she breathed weakly. One of her legs was twisted unnaturally, and thin wires hung from her body, sparking faintly. She looked fragile, like glass about to break. Eli didn't think. He reached in and pulled her out, ignoring the heat and the smoke burning his hands. Her body was lighter than air, cold to the touch, and her pulse was strange, slow, deep, like a rhythm from another world. He laid her on the sand, looking around to see if anyone had followed. The wind carried only silence and the distant roar of the ocean. Suddenly her lips moved. A soft whisper escaped her, barely louder than the wind. "Ocean." Eli blinked, leaning closer. "What? You need water?" But she didn't answer. Her eyes remained closed. She kept repeating one word, weaker each time. "Ocean, please." Her voice was full of pain, yet there was something pure in it. Something that made Eli's chest tighten. He looked toward the coastline, miles away. Glowing faintly under the moon, it didn't make sense. But somehow he felt she belonged there. He took off his jacket and wrapped her carefully, then lifted her into his arms. Her glow dimmed as if she was fading. He whispered, "Don't worry, I'll get you to the ocean." Eli placed her gently in the back seat of his old truck and started the engine. The dashboard lights flickered nervously, and the radio hissed with static. Then, through the noise, a robotic voice echoed. "Unidentified energy detected. Sector 9 lockdown engaged." Eli's blood ran cold. They were already scanning the area. He switched off the headlights and drove into the darkness. Wheels sinking into the wet sand, the sky lit up behind him as military drones flew overhead. Red beams scanning the dunes. Eli gritted his teeth, driving faster, trying to stay out of sight inside the truck. The alien girl trembled, whispering softly. Her skin flickered brighter each time the drones passed, like she couldn't hide what she was. Eli covered her with a blanket and kept driving. He didn't know where he was going, only that he had to keep her safe. Rain began to fall, light at first, then heavy, turning the sand into mud. The storm seemed unnatural, almost alive. Eli wiped his windshield, trying to see through the flashes of lightning. Each time the sky lit up, he saw her face, and calm, peaceful, almost human. He whispered to himself, "Who are you?" Hours passed before he stopped near an old broken bridge. The road ended there, and beyond it stretched the wide, dark ocean. He carried her out of the truck, her body limp in his arms. The wind howled, and the sea raged below. He stood there, rain soaking his clothes, the girl glowing faintly against his chest. Then, for a second, her eyes opened, bright and silver like stars. She looked at him and spoke again, stronger this time. "Ocean, please, before they come." Eli turned, scanning the horizon far away. Red lights appeared in the sky, drones searching, closing in. He had no more time to think. He took a deep breath, looked at the raging waves, and whispered, "Hold on. We're almost there." He climbed down the slippery rocks, the sound of waves crashing louder with every step. The girl's glow reflected on the water like a path of light leading into the unknown. Eli felt something strange in his chest, fear but also a strange sense of destiny. He didn't know who she was or why she needed the ocean, but he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't let her die here. As he reached the edge, thunder roared behind him, and a beam of red light swept across the rocks. The drones had found them. Eli held her tighter and stepped into the freezing water. The waves rose, swallowing them both. The last thing he heard was her whisper again. Softer now, "Thank you, human." And then everything went white. The storm had passed, but the world was still wet and quiet. Eli opened his eyes slowly. Lying beside his truck near the muddy cliffs, the air smelled like salt and smoke. The sound of distant thunder still echoed across the ocean. He coughed and looked around, confused and dizzy. Then he remembered the girl, the wreckage, the light. He jumped to his feet and ran toward the truck. The blanket on the seat moved slightly, and he sighed in relief. The alien girl was still there, breathing softly, her skin faintly glowing under the morning sun. Her leg was still twisted, her body weak, but she was alive. Eli leaned closer, checking if she was conscious. Her eyes opened slowly. They were silver, deep, and full of sadness. For a long second, she just stared at him, silent and scared. Then she spoke, her voice quiet but clear. Where am I?" Eli smiled gently. "Earth. You crashed here. I pulled you out." She looked confused, repeating the word softly. "Earth." Her accent was strange, like music mixed with static. Eli nodded. "Yeah. The ocean's close. You kept saying it last night. Do you need it for something?" The girl didn't answer. Her gaze turned to the sky. Dark shapes moved far away. Drones still scanning the coastline, she whispered. "They will come again. They can smell my energy." Eli frowned. "Who?" "The soldiers." She shook her head slowly. "Not humans. My people, the ones who made me." He didn't understand, but her fear was real. He felt an urge to protect her, even though she wasn't from his world. He went to the back of the truck and started checking his supplies. There wasn't much. Some food, water bottles, and a few mechanical tools. He looked at her, sitting weakly inside the truck, the glow on her skin fading. She looked fragile. "Almost dying," he said softly. "We'll go to the ocean. Maybe it'll help you heal." Her eyes widened a little, as if the word heal meant something special. She nodded slowly. "Yes. Ocean gives life unto my kind." Eli climbed into the driver's seat and started the truck. The engine coughed, then came alive with a low rumble. He drove away from the coast road, heading toward the hidden path through the forest. The road was narrow, wet, and silent. Eli focused on the way, but his mind raced with questions. Who was she? How far had she traveled? And what did she mean by the ones who made me? The girl watched the trees passing by, touching the window with her glowing hand. Raindrops turned to steam where her fingers brushed. Eli stared, amazed. "Does it hurt when you do that?" She shook her head. "It's not pain. It's memory." Her words made no sense, yet they felt heavy. He didn't press her further. After a long silence, she whispered, "You have name?" "Eli," he said, glancing at her. "And you?" She looked thoughtful for a moment, then shook her head. "I forgot." Eli smiled a little. "Then I'll call you something. How about Lyra?" The name seemed to surprise her. She repeated it softly. "Lyra," as if testing the sound. Then a faint smile touched her lips, the first real expression he had seen. "Lyra," she said again. "Yes." "I like it." For a moment the air between them felt lighter. But the peace didn't last long. A flash of red light appeared in the rear mirror. A drone, smaller, faster, scanning the ground. Eli cursed under his breath and turned sharply into a side road. The tires skidded on mud, the truck sliding between tall trees. Branches hit the windows, rain poured again. Lyra held the seat tightly, her eyes glowing brighter. She said, "They found us. I can feel their signal." Eli pushed the accelerator, heart pounding, but the drone followed, beams of light cutting through the rain. He shouted, "Can you do something?" "Stop them?" Lyra closed her eyes and whispered something in a language he didn't know. The air around her shimmered, and suddenly all electronics went silent. The radio, lights, and even the drone outside. Dead. For a second, everything was still. Then the drone crashed into the forest. Burning silently, Eli looked at her, shocked. How did you do that?" Lyra breathed heavily. "I used what's left of my core energy, but it won't last long." Her glow dimmed again. Her head falling to her chest, Eli stopped the truck and turned to her. "Hey, don't sleep now. Stay with me." but she was already unconscious, her breathing shallow. He sat there for a moment, rain hitting the roof like endless whispers. Then he took a deep breath and whispered, "Okay, Lyra, we'll get you to the ocean. No matter what it takes." He started the engine again. Even though it sputtered weakly, the forest road stretched ahead, dark, wet and endless. The storm had returned, lightning painting the sky silver, and as Eli drove deeper into the unknown, he didn't realize this was no longer just a rescue. It was the beginning of a journey that would change both their worlds forever. The night returned faster than Eli expected. The forest around him grew darker, the road narrower and the rain heavier. The truck moved slowly now, its engine coughing from the damage it took earlier. Eli's eyes stayed sharp, scanning every flicker of light beyond the trees. Something felt wrong and too quiet, too still, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Lyra sat beside him, weak and pale. Her glow had almost faded completely, leaving her skin gray-blue like moonlight. She stared out the window, whispering softly to herself. Eli couldn't hear the words, but they didn't sound human. It was like a song, sad, low, and trembling. He glanced at her and asked quietly, "You okay?" She nodded weakly. "My body is changing. Your air, your light, not the same as my world." Eli frowned. "You mean Earth is hurting you?" Lyra closed her eyes. "Not hurting. Just reminding me I don't belong here." Her voice was calm, but there was deep pain inside those simple words. Before Eli could reply, the radio crackled again. "Sector 9. Unidentified signal detected," the robotic voice repeated. Then silence, followed by static. Eli quickly turned the dial off. But Lyra had already straightened up, her eyes wide. "They are close," she said, voice shaking. "The hunters." Eli's pulse jumped. "Hunters? You mean your people?" She looked at him, fear clear on her face. "Not people. Machines. They follow scent of my core. They never stop." Eli hit the brakes and turned off the engine. Rain dripped from the leaves. Thunder rolled in the distance through the darkness. Faint red lights appeared, moving slowly. Scanning the ground like eyes, he whispered, "Stay down." Lyra slid lower into the seat, covering herself with his jacket. Eli reached for the metal wrench beside him, the only weapon he had. He crawled out of the truck quietly, boots sinking in the wet soil. The air smelled of ozone and burning metal. 2 black drones glided above the trees, smooth, silent, alive. Their red lights swept across the forest floor like hungry eyes. Eli hid behind a fallen tree, holding his breath. The drones made no sound except for a faint electric hum. Then one of them stopped, its light focusing on the truck. Eli's heart stopped. The second drone turned and moved closer. Lyra's glow, even hidden, must have given them a trace. He had to do something. He looked around, searching for a distraction. Beside him lay an old fuel can, half full. Eli picked up a rock, tied a strip of cloth around it, soaked it in fuel, and lit it with his lighter. The flame hissed in the rain. He threw it far away from the truck into the bushes. Instantly, both drones turned toward the sound, scanning the fire. Eli used that moment to rush back to the truck. "Hold on!" he shouted, starting the engine. The truck roared, lights flashing. The drones turned back, one of them firing a beam of red energy. It sliced through a tree trunk beside them, sparks flying everywhere. Eli swerved, tires sliding in the mud. Lyra grabbed his arm, eyes glowing again. She whispered, "Don't stop. I'll handle this." Before he could ask what she meant, she placed her palm on the dashboard. Her skin shone bright white, and suddenly, the air inside the truck vibrated. The lights outside flickered. The rain froze midair for a heartbeat. Then a shockwave of blue energy burst outward. The drone's lights blinked once, twice, then went dark. They crashed into the forest. Burning silently, Eli gasped, gripping the wheel tighter. "Lyra, what did you just do?" She leaned back, trembling, her voice faint. "Used my core energy. It drains me, but we are safe for now." Her glow dimmed completely, her breathing slowing. Eli stopped the truck and turned toward her, panic in his eyes. "Hey, stay awake." "Come on." But her head fell to the side, unconscious again. He carried her out into an abandoned gas station nearby. The building was falling apart, glass shattered, roof half gone, but it was shelter. He laid her on an old counter, covered her with his jacket. Her pulse was weak. Faintly glowing under her skin, Eli looked around. Desperate for anything that could help, he found a first aid box and some old cables. He connected the wires to his truck battery, creating a weak power current. He remembered how she healed his hand once, with light. Maybe electricity could help her the same way. He pressed one of the wires gently to her wrist. The current sparked and her body twitched. Her eyes opened slightly, glowing again. "Eli," she whispered. He smiled, relieved. "Hey."
"You're back."
But she shook her head weakly. "No, not safe yet. Hunters send signal before they die. Others will come." Eli's heart sank. "How many?" Her eyes filled with fear. "Too many. They won't stop until they find me." Thunder roared above them again, the roof shaking. Eli looked toward the ocean far away. Hidden behind the rain, he clenched his jaw and whispered, "Then we'll get there first." He picked her up carefully, her body light as a dream, and as he stepped out into the storm again, the red glow of more drones flickered in the distant sky. The hunt wasn't over. It had only just begun. The storm had faded by morning, but the world was still gray and heavy. Eli stood near the truck, staring at the horizon. The ocean was far away, just a silver line in the distance. Behind him, the broken gas station stood quiet. Lyra lay inside, sleeping again, her glow faint but steady. Eli rubbed his tired eyes, his mind full of questions. Who were the hunters? Why did they want her? And what power did she really have? He had seen her stop machines, bend electricity, and heal with light. She wasn't just some alien girl. She was something much more. But every time she used her power, she grew weaker, like the light was killing her slowly. He walked back inside and checked her pulse. Her skin felt warm now, not cold like before. She opened her eyes weakly and whispered, "We made it through the night?" Eli smiled a little. "Yeah, barely." She looked around the old station, noticing the broken walls and dusty shelves. "Is this your shelter?" she asked softly. Eli laughed dryly. "For now, it's home." Lyra sat up slowly. Holding her chest, her eyes seemed older somehow, as if she had seen centuries. She looked at the small glass window, where the sunlight touched the floor. Then she whispered, "Your sun feels different, softer than mine." Eli tilted his head. "You mean your planet?" She nodded, her voice trembling slightly. "Yes, my world is called Neuralis, a planet of oceans, endless water and light. My people were born from the sea." Eli sat down beside her, listening quietly. Lyra continued, "We were a peaceful kind once. We built cities under the waves. Our energy came from the ocean itself. But then he came, the warlord." Her face darkened as she spoke his name. "He was not one of us. He came from the dry worlds beyond the stars. He took our children, turned them into living weapons, and forced us to fight for his empire." Eli's stomach tightened. "And you escaped?" She nodded, tears glowing in her eyes. "I ran. I broke the seal of my core and stole one of his ships. I wanted to find a world without war, without control." Her voice cracked. "But he will not stop until I am found, because I carry something he wants, the heart of the sea." Eli blinked, confused. "The heart of the sea?" She touched the small crystal hanging from her neck. It pulsed faintly with blue light. "This is my world's core fragment. It gives life to my kind, and destruction to those who twist it." Eli stared at it, mesmerized. The crystal seemed alive, glowing with a heartbeat of its own. When she held it, the air hummed softly, like the ocean was breathing around them. She looked down, whispering, "Without the ocean, this heart dies. And so do I." Eli felt a lump in his throat. "That's why you needed the ocean. To live." Lyra nodded weakly. "Yes, the ocean here might awaken it again, if we reach it in time." He stood up and looked outside, where the morning mist still hugged the road. They were close now, maybe a day's drive away. But the risk was higher than ever. Eli turned back to her. "Then we go today." She frowned slightly. "You don't have to do this. You've already risked everything." He shook his head. "If I stop now, you'll die. And I can't let that happen." For a long moment, they just stared at each other, human and alien, bound by fate. Then Lyra smiled faintly. "You remind me of someone from my home." Eli raised an eyebrow. "Another human?" She shook her head. "No, someone who believed light can grow even in darkness." Suddenly, a faint buzzing broke the silence. Eli froze. He rushed to the window. 2 dots moved in the sky. Heading toward them, Lyra's glow brightened slightly, her voice filled with fear. "They've found us again." Eli grabbed his backpack and tools. "Then we move now." He helped her stand. but her leg was still weak. She tried to walk, trembling, but fell. Eli caught her before she hit the ground. Without thinking, he lifted her into his arms again. Lyra looked up at him, surprised. "You don't have to carry me." He smiled softly. "I know, but I want to outside." Thunder rolled again and the wind picked up. He placed her gently in the truck and started the engine. Lyra held the crystal tightly, her hands glowing faintly. She whispered something, words from her language, and a small light formed around the vehicle. Eli looked at her. "What is that?" She said quietly, "A shield. A memory of my world. It won't last long, but it will hide us." The truck sped down the old road. The wind howling through the trees behind them. The drone scanned the empty gas station. Missing them by minutes ahead, the ocean's scent grew stronger. Salty and cold, Eli didn't know if they... But as he glanced at Lyra, the alien girl clutching the glowing heart of her world, he felt something new, hope. The past had brought them pain, but the ocean ahead promised a chance, maybe not to escape, but to begin again. And neither of them knew that the warlord's ships had already entered Earth's orbit. The real storm was yet to come. The road curved along the cliffs like a scar through the earth. Wind howled from the ocean side. Carrying salt and thunder, Eli drove fast, his hands tight on the wheel, his eyes locked on the horizon. Beside him, Lyra sat weak but awake, the crystal on her chest pulsing with slow light. Behind them, the sky burned red. "The hunters were coming, faster," she whispered, her voice barely holding. Eli pressed the pedal harder, the old truck shaking under the pressure. Rain began to fall, sharp and heavy, blurring the world outside. The sound of engines echoed in the distance, metal wings slicing through the storm. Lyra's glow brightened faintly. "They are here," she said. Eli didn't look back. Let them come. Lightning split the sky, revealing 3 dark shapes descending from the clouds. They weren't drones, they were something bigger, faster, alive with red light. Hunter ships, sharp and insect-like, moving with terrifying grace. Eli's heart pounded, but he didn't slow down. The road was ending ahead, a bridge half broken, leading toward the sea. If he stopped, they'd die. If he went forward, there was still a chance. Lyra held the crystal tightly, whispering to it in her strange tongue. The light inside it grew brighter, pulsing faster like a heartbeat. Eli shouted over the rain, "What are you doing?" She closed her eyes, calling the ocean. "It can protect us. But I need more time." Eli nodded, gripping the wheel. "Then I'll give you that time." The first hunter fired. A beam of red energy sliced through the forest. Exploding behind them, Eli swerved hard, the truck sliding across the wet road, tires screeching. The bridge loomed closer, cracked. Broken, hanging halfway over the cliffs, the second hunter swooped lower. Mechanical wings cutting through rain. Eli looked at Lyra. "Hold on." He slammed the accelerator, the engine roared, and the truck jumped onto the bridge. The old metal creaked under the weight. Planks fell into the ocean below. Swallowed by waves, the hunters followed, their lights flashing like lightning. Lyra opened her eyes, the crystal glowing white-hot. "I can stop them," she said softly, "but it will hurt." Eli shouted, "Don't worry about me, just do it." She placed her glowing hand against the dashboard. The truck's lights flickered, every circuit trembling. Electric arcs danced across the metal. Then in silence, the world froze for a second. A blinding wave of blue energy burst from the truck. It spread outward like ripples through the rain. The nearest hunter exploded in midair, its burning pieces falling into the ocean. Eli blinked through the smoke, trying to see. The second hunter crashed against the cliffs. Spinning out of control, the last one pulled up. Its red light scanning the bridge, Lyra gasped, her glow fading again. Her voice was weak. "I can't do more. My core is breaking." Eli turned to her, fear in his eyes. "Hey, stay with me. We're almost there." The bridge began to collapse, one side breaking free from the rocks. The truck tilted dangerously, sliding toward the edge. Eli slammed the brakes, but it was too late. The metal gave way with a deafening crack. The truck fell, crashing through mist and wind. Eli wrapped his arms around Lyra, shielding her as they hit the water. The impact knocked the air from his lungs. Cold waves swallowed them, dragging the truck deep into darkness. Eli fought to free the seatbelt, bubbles rising around him. He pulled Lyra out, her body weightless in the water. Her eyes were closed, her crystal dim. He swam upward, arms burning, lungs screaming for air. They broke the surface just as thunder roared above. The ocean around them glowed faint blue, faintly alive. Eli dragged her onto a rock, waves crashing against his back. "Lyra! Open your eyes," he shouted. No response. He placed a hand over her chest. The crystal was barely pulsing, he whispered, voice breaking. "You can't die now. We made it, please." Then a strange sound filled the air. Not thunder, not wind. It was singing, low and deep. Coming from beneath the water, the ocean began to glow brighter, spreading light across the waves. Lyra's body shivered, her fingers twitching. The crystal lit up again, stronger than before. Her eyes opened slowly. No longer silver, but bright white, she whispered. "It hears me. The ocean. It remembers." Eli stepped back as light surrounded her body. The water rose around her like a living thing, forming spirals of glowing mist. Her legs straightened, her wounds vanished. Her voice calm and powerful. "The ocean gives me back my strength, but it also calls me home." Eli looked at her, soaked and shaking. "You mean you have to leave?" And she looked at him with sad eyes. "Not yet. Not until it's safe." Above them, the last hunter hovered, charging its weapon. Lyra stood slowly, her feet glowing as if touching the ocean's heart. She raised her hand, light spreading across the sky. A beam of energy shot from the hunter, but before it could hit, she released her power. The sea rose like a wall and swallowed the ship whole. Then silence returned, broken only by the sound of waves. Eli stared at her, breathless. She looked stronger now, not broken, not afraid, but in her eyes there was deep sadness. "The chase is over," she whispered, "but the war has begun." The ocean was calm now, silent as glass. Waves rolled softly under a sky of silver clouds. Eli sat on the rocky shore. Soaked and trembling, the storm had passed. But his mind was still a storm inside. Lyra stood a few feet away, her glow brighter than ever. She looked almost human now, calm, strong, alive. Eli stared at her, unable to believe what he saw. Her once twisted leg was straight, her skin whole again. She was no longer the weak, trembling girl he carried across the wasteland. Now she looked like something ancient and powerful, a being reborn. The ocean shimmered around her feet as if it bowed to her. He whispered softly, "You can stand." Lyra turned slowly, her white eyes glowing faintly. "I could always stand," she said, her voice low but steady. Eli's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" She stepped closer, water sliding from her skin like light. "I wasn't broken, Eli. I only forgot how to walk." Her words hit him like a wave. "For my kind," she continued, "movement comes from memory, from belief. When I fled my world, I lost both. I thought I was broken, until you carried me." Eli blinked, stunned. "So all this time," she nodded slowly, "you carried me not because I needed saving, but because I needed to remember who I was." Her eyes softened. "Your strength gave mine a shape again." Eli looked down, speechless, the truth sinking deep into his heart. All the pain, the chase, the fear. It all led here, to this quiet moment by the sea. He looked back at her. "Then what are you now?" Lyra turned toward the water, her reflection glowing across the surface. "I am what I was meant to be. A keeper of the ocean. A guardian of life," she said. "The heart you helped me protect. It's not only a weapon or power, it's a seed of creation." She placed a hand over the crystal on her chest, which now pulsed like a living heart. Wherever it touches water, life follows. But if the wrong hands hold it, it becomes death. Eli frowned, remembering the red ships that chased them. "The warlord. He wants that power," he said. Lyra nodded. "He feeds on it. His machines drink the life of worlds, and now he knows where I am." The air grew colder. The wind carrying a distant hum. Eli looked up. Small lights flickered in the sky. At first he thought they were stars, but they moved, more fast, organized, alive. "They're coming," he said quietly. Lyra closed her eyes, feeling the vibration in the air. "Yes, his fleet has found us." Eli took a step forward. "Then we fight." Lyra looked at him sadly. "You can't fight them. Not with your machines, not with your weapons." He clenched his fists. "I don't care, I'm not leaving you." Lyra smiled faintly, a tear glowing down her cheek. "You've already done more than anyone from your world could. But this part is mine." She walked closer and placed her hand on his chest. Her touch was warm, like sunlight through water. "When I came here, I wanted to die quietly, far from war. But you reminded me that life is not meant to hide. It's meant to protect. Eli's throat tightened. You don't have to do this alone. She shook her head gently. I'm not alone anymore. She turned toward the sea again, her glow spreading outward. The ocean responded, waves rising higher, forming patterns of light. The water itself began to move as if alive, twisting into massive shapes that shimmered like wings. From beneath the waves, ancient sounds echoed, deep, powerful, and mournful. Creatures of light began to appear, translucent, swimming through air and water both. Eli stepped back, eyes wide. What are they? Illyra smiled softly. My people's memories. They never truly die. They wait beneath every ocean in the universe. The sea glowed brighter, stretching miles across the horizon. The ships above drew closer, their red beams piercing the clouds. Lyra raised her hand, her voice calm. When they arrive, I will send them back, but it will cost everything I have. Eli shook his head. No, there has to be another way. She looked at him, her expression full of peace. You once told me humans fight for what they love. I'm just learning to do the same. He reached out to her, but she stepped back, standing ankle-deep in the glowing water. The light around her began to rise. Swirling into a storm of silver mist, the ocean sang again. Louder this time, shaking the very air. The ships fired beams down toward them, but before they could hit, the sea rose higher than any wave had ever risen. It stood like a wall between heaven and earth, glowing blue and white. Lyra's voice echoed across the water. Go, Eli. Find others like you. Protect your world. He shouted her name, but she only smiled. Then, in one final flash of light, she vanished into the ocean. The waves crashed, the sky went silent, and the ships above disappeared, swallowed by light. Eli stood there alone, rain falling softly again. The ocean glowed one last time, then faded into calm darkness. Something small washed ashore, the crystal. Now dim but still pulsing faintly. Eli picked it up and held it close, whispering, You could walk all along. The sea whispered back in the wind, quiet, endless and alive. The night was quiet again, but the silence didn't feel peaceful anymore. It felt heavy, like the world was holding its breath. Eli stood at the edge of the ocean, staring at the waves that had taken Lyra. The sky above him was black and endless. No stars, no moon, only clouds hiding everything. He still held the crystal, the last piece of her. Its glow had faded to a faint heartbeat of blue light. Each pulse reminded him of her voice. Her courage, her warmth, he whispered. You did it. You saved us. But deep down, he wished he could tell her one more thing, that she wasn't just a savior. She was his friend. Days passed slowly. The military arrived at the coast soon after the storm. They found the wreckage of alien ships scattered across the cliffs. Strange energy still lingered in the air, burning their sensors. They questioned Eli for hours, but he said nothing. How could he explain what had happened? Who would believe him if he told them the ocean itself had come alive? He lived in a small hut near the shore after that. He repaired machines for the local fishermen. He listened to the sea every night, waiting for that faint blue glow to return. Sometimes when the waves crashed softly, he thought he heard her voice again. Just a whisper, like light moving through water, Eli. But one night everything changed, the air trembled, and the ocean began to glow again. Not bright, just faintly, like it was remembering something. Eli ran to the water, holding the crystal close. The glow from the ocean matched the rhythm of the light in his hand. He knelt in the sand, heart racing. Lyra, is that you? The waves shimmered, forming shapes of light. And there, for a brief moment, her reflection appeared on the water. She looked calm, distant, almost like a dream. Eli, her voice echoed softly. You kept the heart? He nodded, his voice breaking. I couldn't let it go. I didn't know if it would ever wake again. Lyra smiled gently, her image flickering like mist. The heart of the sea does not sleep. It only waits. Eli looked at her, confused. Waits for what? Her reflection grew brighter, the light rippling across the shore. For a choice, she said, a heart that can guide it. He frowned. I don't understand. Lyra's voice was calm. When I gave myself to the ocean, I didn't die, Eli. I became part of it. But the ocean is vast. It needs a guardian. It needs someone who remembers both worlds, human and mine. Eli froze, realizing what she meant. You're asking me to take your place, he whispered. Lyra's voice softened. Not to replace me, but to continue what we began, to keep balance between land and sea. He looked at the glowing crystal, feeling its warmth in his hand. It pulsed faster now, as if responding to his heartbeat. He said quietly, "If I take this, I'll never be human again." Lyra's reflection smiled sadly. "You will always be human, Eli, but you will also be something greater." The waves reached his feet, glowing brighter. The sound of the sea grew louder, not chaotic, but harmonious like a song. He looked at the horizon, where faint lights flickered, new stars, or maybe new ships. He knew the war wasn't over, not truly. There would always be more like the warlord, more who wanted to take instead of give, but maybe he could stop them before they reached Earth again. He took a deep breath, the cold wind stinging his face. Then he stepped into the water slowly. The crystal glowed brighter, wrapping his hand in blue light. The ocean rose around him, not drowning him but holding him. Lyra's voice echoed again, "Once you accept it, there is no return." He closed his eyes and whispered, "Then let this be my home." The water enveloped him completely. The glow spread across the entire shore, turning night into pale blue dawn. His body stopped fighting. He didn't feel cold or pain or fear, he felt peace. Images flashed through his mind. Lyra's smile, the journey, the fire, the rain. The stars, then silence when morning came. The ocean was calm again. The fishermen who passed by saw the beach glowing faintly. They found no body, no footprints, just a single mark in the sand. A handprint glowing softly under the sunlight. The stories began soon after, about a light under the waves, about machines that sank before reaching shore. They called it the guardian of the coast, a myth born from whispers and fear. But sometimes, when storms grew wild, a voice could still be heard in the wind, calm and familiar. "Do not fear the sea. It remembers kindness." And deep beneath the surface, the ocean glowed with two lights, one ancient, one human, two hearts beating as one, forever guarding a fragile world.